Principal here at Olentangy High School. I'd like to welcome our students from the Olentangy local school district, our staff, our parents, this community. This is an exciting night for us, and we're going to hear a powerful message from a number of people. As a high school principal, I have a lot of tough decisions to make on a daily basis, but when asked by our district diversity committee, would we be interested in hosting Miss America at our high school, this was not a difficult decision. So we are honored to have her here today. We'd certainly like to welcome Nina Davuluri, who is our Miss America. And before we have the opportunity to hear from Nina, I'm proud to introduce another special guest that we have with us today, Callie Lindstrom, to today's forum. Callie is a very courageous and determined young woman who has a powerful anti-bullying message to share with all of us. Callie is currently in the process of speaking to 20 high schools across the country. Found out today that this is the 20th high school that she's spoken to. This is the end of her tour here across the country to share her message of respect for diversity through inclusion and how to become an ally in the fight against bullying. So please welcome me and welcoming Callie Lindstrom.
This mic is working well. Can you hear me in the back? Okay, great. Hi, I'm Callie Lindstrom, and I'm 17 years old from Glen Ellen, Illinois, so that's a suburb of Chicago. But I've been on this national tour talking to schools about bullying. I've been talking to high school students and sort of leading them a program based on inclusion and treating other people with respect through your small actions, because they make a big difference. Your small actions are actually big when you add them up. But today I spoke with some students from different high schools earlier this morning, and they're going to share their quick experiences later on. But I want to tell you my personal story of why bullying is so important to me and how it's impacted my life. I'm a senior in high school, so I'm 17 years old, and I'll actually be graduating in May 2014, which is great. But so I've been kind of taking a little time. I'm in class, sort of, but I go around the nation and talk to schools real quick, and then I fly back to class and go to school. So I'm just a typical high school student who just really cares a lot about kids my age and, our youth, because with bullying, often I hear people tell me, well, kids will be kids. That happens. Bullying just is part of being a kid. But these kids grow up. Let me just fix this. Kids grow up, if you don't stop them now with their actions, they're going to grow up and they're going to turn into adults, and maybe with racism and discrimination. So we can't just let it slide and say it's okay because they're kids. We have to teach them how their behavior affects other people. Because if we don't, they're going to grow up and they're going to be adults who may not understand that. But actually, 2 years ago, I had to leave high school for a little bit. I was a sophomore in high school when the bullying got to the point where I had to leave and get some help from professionals and then get to a stable point where I could come back to school. When I was young, it was more relational bullying where people would exclude me on purpose because they thought I was weird or they didn't want to hang out with me or I wasn't cool enough for them. It was mostly girls because I was a tomboy. I have 2 older brothers, so I sort of was wearing their hand-me-down clothes and I didn't fit it. But when I got to middle school, things were okay. But in high school is when things weren't good at all for me. People were making fun of these videos I had made on YouTube, and they were sort of mocking what I had done. And I was actually making YouTube videos because I love to film and edit, and it was something I loved to do. But I found myself the target of bullying because people thought that was weird. They would mock quotes that I said in the YouTube videos where I was talking to the camera and vlogging, which is like video vlogging. But they would mock what I said to me, and it became that I was the weird girl, and I was sitting alone at lunch and things like that. But one day when I was in gym class, this girl said that if someone who had friends and family died, that it would be a big deal and that person is selfish. And then she went on to say that if someone like Callie, and pointed at me, killed himself, no one would even show up to their funeral. And at that point, I already felt so excluded from all my peers. I had heard things that no one should have to hear in their life from someone else because, especially as a teenager, we're already insecure. We're already trying to figure out who we are, and we're constantly being made fun of for our differences. It's hard to feel confident in who we are already. But when you're feeling worthless from someone else, and someone else is telling you you're worthless, It's hard to think differently because we haven't had that much life experience to find all the worth in our life. But I heard what she said, and I couldn't really shake the feeling off. My self-esteem was really lowered. I started developing some self-harming behaviors and self-loathing, and it got to the point where I had to leave high school and get some help. I was in the hospital for a while dealing with depression and self-esteem and some issues around that, but I got help, and I actually returned to school my junior year, which was rocky, but it got a lot better. And after going through everything I went through, I sort of felt like I had a better sense of myself. I had more empathy. So I had the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. And I know that everyone has their own struggle and story. Everyone's been through something that makes them the person they are today. And just by looking at someone, you can't tell what they've been through. You can't tell their life. You just know what you see on the surface. You may see the clothes they're wearing or what they look like and assume something about them, but you don't know that. And I finally realized that their sexuality, their appearance is not all that there is to them. They're a person with a personality and interests in all these things. And often in high school, we get caught up in all these small things. But my goal is to create people who will support everyone involved in bullying situations. So we'll support bystanders, who are the people who observe bullying happening but choose to do nothing about it. Those people are really the 90% of who are involved in bullying situations. So it's really the idea of standing up in situations, being the voice who speaks out. I found myself, at times I had to be the bystander, but now I absolutely do not be the bystander. I speak out against any forms of bullying. I'm there to support people. I've actually did a protest against A&F, and through that, we created this anti-bullying program. So it's been a really unique opportunity to have this chance to talk to a lot of kids and explain what it's like to parents and everyone right today. But earlier today, I was talking with some students from this high school, and they're going to share what it was like at the symposium this morning. So if you guys would like to share your experience, I think we had somebody who's coming. Yes?
Hello, my name is Nikki Mitchell. I go here at Olentangy High School, and today I went to the symposium that Callie did. Going in, I didn't know what to expect. I thought that could be like all the other symposiums we have here at school, where there's an expert who comes and talks to you, tells you how bad bullying is, and throws up a picture of a girl or a guy who was bullied so bad because they did. Because there might have been a picture that went out that wasn't as flattering, or they did something at a party, they couldn't live it down, and then bullied them for it. And they usually end up harming themselves or committing suicide. And not to say that it's not tragic, but there are a lot of us who do get bullied and do overcome bullying who never really got to that point. And it never got so bad that we thought about that. And a lot of times we feel left out because they always feel the extreme end of the spectrum. But we sit here and we didn't feel that way. We feel like we're left out because we didn't go that extreme. And we feel like sometimes we weren't acknowledged that we were really bullied. So I went to the symposium and I looked around, and there's 4 schools, or 5, Olentangy, all three schools, New Albany, and Bexley. And I was looking around, and the first thought that crossed my mind was I was probably the only one in here that was bullied. Because to my mind, they all looked pretty, and all the guys looked handsome, and they looked like those were the star athletes, and the girls who played varsity sports held a job and did all the committee work. So I was sitting there, and Callie told her story, and I sympathized with her because I was going around younger in middle school and elementary school. So it wasn't until we started going around the table and she told us to talk about experiences. And the girl sitting next to me had been bullied. The girl sitting across from me had been bullied. And it was never a big event or being shoved in a locker. It was that people were just making comments and picking at it and swallowing. And they also felt and changed through this bullying, how they changed the way they dressed, they changed the way they acted. And to hear that, to hear the people that you see every day who you think have everything, that are popular, that are nice, that are sweet, that are funny, went through the same thing you do, it's so empowering. To know that you're not alone. That was the worst part of bullying, thinking that you were all alone and no one else knew what you were going through. And to know that, to look around and know that the people you thought were way so far ahead of you, had everything, was doing just what you were doing, was sad, but to know that you're not alone was the best feeling. And it was so empowering to go around the room and tell how we overcame that. And for how it encouraged us to reach out to others and to explain to them how it's not big bullying that gets us, it's the little bullying, the comments, the snide remarks. And that's what happens with bullying and how it changes you. And after the symposium, like I said, I felt so empowered to know that I was not the only one. You always think that, as I said, through bullying, you're always alone, that you're the only one who feels this way, that maybe there's a handful of you there. But it happens to all of us. Even if you don't think about it, you have heard that snide remark, or you have heard someone comment on something that did hurt your feelings, and that is bullying. And to get that message out and hear it was the best feeling. And the symposium was so empowering, and for Callie to come, and for us to realize that our voice will be heard if we talk, is the best.
Hey everyone, I'm Aaron. I also attended the symposium today at Abercrombie & Fitch's Distribution Center. And going in, I was in Nikki's position. You know, I wasn't aware of Callie's story, and I wasn't, really aware of the depth of bullying that could occur in high schools and, any form of school. And so Callie shared a story, and I heard that, and it really awakened me, to all the types of bullying and, what really goes on in high schools that, most of us may not see or may not choose to see. And after she shared a story, we were in groups. We sat at tables with members of the Abercrombie & Fitch team and with students from other high schools. And we sat and we talked about, if we were bullies, bystanders, shared experiences like that. And the one thing that I took away from that was that, I think we all may be bystanders, and if we're in a group of friends and someone walks by that is different, than our group of friends, someone may start to make a remark, and then the entire group of friends will start laughing. And most of us may have been in this position where we just kind of stand there. We don't make a comment because we know it's wrong. We just kind of stand there and we laugh and we smirk because we're kind of scared that our friends may pick on us too if we are to speak out against, that rude comment or that bullied comment. And what we really talked about at our table really stuck with me today was that just one word, one simple word can help someone that's in Callie's position, that is being bullied like that. If you stand up in that group of friends and you say stop, or you say that's not cool, let's back off doing that, then that one word, that stop, can have a profound impact on the person who is being bullied on that receiving end of that. That can have a profound impact on their life, but it also can have a profound impact on everyone else, that group of friends. Your group of friends will then see you as someone who they look up to, I guess. You have the power. They see you as someone that has the power to stand up and say, let's stop this. Let's be nice. And that's what I really took away from today, is that you have more power than you think. That whatever you may say has weight behind it. So whether it be an unkind word, whether you are the bully or whether you are not a bystander and you stand up and you say, let's stop bullying, you have the power. And Callie's story and, just the symposium in general today really helped me to awaken and to see, and to feel empowered to, be that leader, that people will look up to and say, he's doing the right thing, let's stop bullying, let's put a stop to this. And that's that's what I took away from today. It was really, really powerful message. And I thank Callie for coming in and sharing that and being brave, enough to stand up and say, let's put a stop to this. So.
I want to introduce to you a rep from the Diversity and Inclusion team at A&F who's going to explain the importance of inclusion and diversity as we lead into Nina Davuluri, Miss America. So she's going to explain the importance of diversity and how we've incorporated that in our program. So give it up for her.
Good evening, everyone. I will be brief. I know you're not here to hear me speak. I'm that person between you and Nina. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to share the impact of the tour and what we heard from students and why this message was so meaningful. So as you see right here in front of you, I'm going to have to scoot down here a little bit to get my clicker. But this is where we were across the country. So we began our tour October. It was National Bullying Month. We began October. From October until now, we've been all across the United States. You see the impact of our message. We've reached over 2,500 students. And this is the inclusion wheel that we've used in every single one of our sessions, including today. And this wheel, we use it at Abercrombie & Fitch. It's a staple in our diversity and inclusion curriculum. We love this wheel because it describes the vastness of diversity. When we think about how we talk about diversity and inclusion in the U.S., we usually relegate it to a few topics: race, gender, religion. For us, it is all of this. And we encourage, and it might be a little bit difficult for you to see, but things on this wheel are appearance, geographic location, citizenship, socioeconomic status, your hobbies, your individual interests. For us, this is how we talk about diversity and inclusion. These are all the ways in which a person can be different. And these are all the ways in which we need to appreciate and embrace the differences that each of us bring. For the symposium, we customized this because we wanted to make sure this wheel was relevant to students. So the dimensions that we added to the wheel are those that you see in red. We added, not in red, we added the community that you were, the high school that you were a part of, your grade level, whether or not you're involved in activities. And these are things that students are oftentimes bullied around. So this number that you see, this statistic that you see up here at the top, 1 out of 3 students says that they have been the target of bullying. And when you think about that number and think about your children, and thinking if they could possibly be that 1 out of 3, it really becomes a sobering statistic. And then we asked them, what are the top 5 reasons why you're being bullied? We wanted to know, we wanted to ask the students. And what they told us, sexual orientation was a reason why they were bullied. Race, disability, socioeconomic status, and appearance. These are the top 5 reasons that students felt like they were being targeted, people were talking about them. And when we talked about bullying, and Callie has alluded to this a little bit earlier, bullying is not just the physical bullying that we typically think of. It's really that emotional, the verbal, the cyberbullying, right? Those things that people put out on social media. When you think about, yes, your kids are in school all day, but then they leave school and they look on their phone or they go to their computer and they get messages from people at that time too, so that bullying becomes nonstop when you think about it. So it follows them even at home. And so that's why this conversation has become even more relevant, even more appropriate, and why our company said we needed to really get involved in this conversation. So let's then go on to, how was this message received by students? Did they find any meaning in this? Was this important to them? 89% of the students said, wow, this session was meaningful. And I think Nikki mentioned that. A lot of the kids expected, okay, I'm going to have a person come in who's a bullying expert and say, this is why you shouldn't bully, okay? But that wasn't that. Our message that Callie had was from a student who had experienced it themselves, and we allowed them to share their stories. And that was something that was really important to us. When we thought about the symposium, we wanted the students to be able to share their stories with each other, And that's where the healing, that's where the empowerment came from, were stories that were shared, not from Cali, just from Cali to them, but from students to students. The final statistic that we have is that 88% of the students walked away feeling like they knew what to do to be an ally. And that was really the goal of this, is how do we help students, one, understand, I think everybody knows bullying isn't a good thing, it's not the right thing to do, but we wanted to empower them to say, how can you, as a student, in your space, where you are, at this moment in time, how can we help you, and this is a phrase that we use at A&F, cross the line from being a bystander to being an ally, where you become the person that stands up and has a voice and tells people, no, this isn't the right thing to do. We need to do something different and create inclusion. You see a photo there. This was from Nina, Miss America's tweet. We were with her in New York. This was our first stop, so it's so appropriate, and we're so excited that we're able to have her join us again in our tour. So this was our first stop in New York City with Nina, and she's now joining us tonight to share her message about her experiences with bullying and share a little bit about her platform that is around diversity and inclusion and cultural acceptance and awareness. Is Nina ready?
Of the Miss America organization, as well as America the Beautiful Teen Empowerment documentary. And I'm here today because I'm talking my personal platform. Every contestant in the Miss America organization is required to have a personal platform, a message that they promote throughout their year of service is what we call it, because this is very much a service job. And so mine is celebrating diversity through cultural competency. And while that seems like a mouthful, I'm going to elaborate. So I chose that because I kind of grew up all over America, I suppose. I was born in Syracuse, New York. My parents are originally from India. They immigrated here 30 years ago, almost, 31 now, I think, close to. And then when I was 4, my family moved to Oklahoma. And in Oklahoma, we were the only Indian family in my town. And I remember I was often mistaken for a Native American, and people would ask me, well, what tribe are you in? And I would say, because I really didn't. And this was the first time where I really didn't feel a sense of belonging or acceptance. And I think every child, all of us have always wanted that sense of belonging. And I didn't feel that way. And I remember going to school, and people would ask me, I grew up in a Hindu household, and people would say, oh, do you believe in Jesus? And I said, no, but I believe in God. And I had students tell me, well, you're going to hell. And for me, that was another moment where it wasn't necessarily these children's fault. It was what they were learning from the environment that they lived in. And they were learning this from their family, their peers, their educators. And this was really what hurt me the most, because I had no clue how to react to this, and I had no idea why this was being said to me. And these similar instances, and I think a part of the problem also was that assimilation has to happen from both sides. And so when I would go home and tell my parents that this was happening, they themselves really didn't know how to handle the situation, or really help me understand as to what I could have done to educate my own peers about this stereotype or misconception that they had had. And this really continued to follow me when I went to middle school and high school and even college. I graduated from the University of Michigan. Okay, I won't say that here. But it really constantly followed me. And I remember when I moved to Michigan, I was 10 when I moved to Michigan, and I had an older sister. And this was kind of the time where we had really found an opportunity or an avenue to share part of our culture, part of our heritage. And I had grown up classically trained in Indian dance for many, many years. And every year, my school had a variety show. And because I had my sister, we said, you know what, why don't we do an Indian dance for our variety show this year? And that was the first moment where I was able to really educate my friends and community as well about who I was. Because being Indian is certainly a huge part of me. I'm not going to stand here and deny that. But I'm also American. You know, I was born in this country. And I think it was really important to me to be able to share my culture, my heritage with my friends and family and be proud of it. And unfortunately, I think, well, actually my community was very accepting of that and very curious and asked so many questions. And I thought it was very well received throughout. Even in college I continued that. But then I decided to compete in the Miss America organization. And I don't know if any of you watched the competition this year. It was on ABC. So when I started competing, I had always wanted to, you know, there's a talent portion at Miss America. And I had always been an Indian dancer, like I just talked about. And there was no question that I was going to perform this talent on the Miss America stage. I can sing. I'm a much better dancer than I am a singer. But like I said, just going back to it was a huge part of who I was, and I couldn't imagine performing anything else. And so I competed for Miss New York 2 years ago. This was the second time I was back. So last year when I competed for Miss New York, I placed second runner-up. And I remember going back and thinking, gosh, well, why did that happen? And so I talked to some people, and they said, Nina, if you're really serious about winning Miss New York or winning Miss America, change your talent, because Bollywood will never win. And so I thought about it for quite some time. It's something I really struggled with. You know, I thought, well, I do want to win Miss America. And is this really a hindrance? Is this holding me back? Because so many people didn't understand what it was. And what it really came down to is that it meant so much more to me to be able to share a part of who I was and not change who I was and perform that talent. So I came back to Miss New York this year. I won Miss New York with my talent, went on to win Miss America with the Bollywood talent. And for me, it was about reaching out to a new demographic of people who are in this country, of young women, not only young women, but people who are in this country who might feel that they don't fit in or look a certain way. Because we live in a country that's not as simple as black and white anymore. And it is so timely and so relevant for all of us to be able to ask questions, engage with others, form an open and honest line of communication and relationship between people, regardless of your race, your gender, your socioeconomic status, your religion, your ethnicity. It's so important that we communicate effectively. And so that's a large part of my message that I promote as Miss America. And unfortunately, one of the things I had to deal with was social media immediately after I won. And this is actually something I had to deal with when I won Miss New York on a very much smaller scale. And I had to deal with similar backlash when I won Miss America. Twitter's never happy. People are always complaining about something. But when that happened, in my mind, it was just intolerable because these were people who were saying very ignorant remarks that were absolutely false. And I had always viewed myself as first and foremost American, and I had people say that I wasn't, among many other things. But the point is that in that moment, I had a choice. I had a choice to either let that get to me or overcome that. And you cannot fight, I think you can't fight violence with violence. I just don't believe in that. That's not who I am. And I think the only way to get past that for me, this situation for me, was to overcome it, to rise above it and speak about it, because this was my platform. This was what I was promoting, and I'm not going to sit here and deny the fact that I'm Indian because I'm proud of it, but at the same time remind everyone that I am also American, and I am very representative of the sample of America today. And so that's how I chose to handle it, and I think that it gave me an opportunity to promote my platform once again on a larger scale, to speak with many other people, young students like yourselves, and educate others about what I'm doing across the country. And so that's a little bit about my journey and my story. But I really wanted to open the floor for questions, comments. You can ask me anything. And we'd like to start a conversation going, so I'm looking forward to getting to know you guys. Bueller? Oh, thank you. That's so sweet. That was like the easiest question I've ever had. people post pictures on Instagram with women in headscarves targeted towards me, which is a completely a misconception in itself. And so for me, these were, like I said, educated people who went to college making these remarks. And when that happened, when I won Miss New York, I remember sitting at home with my mom and sister. My sister's my best friend. And I really believe that you have to have a good support system to be able to get through tough times, because you physically and mentally, emotionally can't do it on your own. At least I couldn't. And so I remember sitting down and saying, gosh, why is this happening? I was born in New York. My platform is diversity, and I just didn't understand it. And hindsight really is 20/20, because if that hadn't happened when I won Miss New York, I wouldn't have been able to handle it when I won Miss America. Because there was no time to crash and burn when I won Miss America. It's immediately you go, you win, and you go the next day. And so to like I said, take it as an opportunity to educate others is what I did. My favorite Bollywood movie, totally Kuch My favorite Bollywood actor, I have to say Shah Rukh Khan. Yeah. So actually, the question is, will I do Bollywood if I compete for Miss Universe? So I'll just clarify a little. So Miss USA and Miss America are two very different organizations. Miss America is a nonprofit organization, and we're very much scholarship and service driven. So as Miss America, I won $50,000 in scholarship money to further my education. We also have a personal platform, like I said, that I promote throughout my year of service, and we have a talent portion of competition. Miss America doesn't go on to anything else. Once you're Miss America, you're done. So I won't be doing anything else after that. As an Indian parent, what advice would I give? Oh my goodness, bless my parents' hearts. They have been through so much, and I think it was really difficult for them because they just didn't know how to raise children in America. They really didn't. And you can't raise your children expecting them to be 100% Indian in this country. It's not possible. And I would say really just establish that line of communication from a young age, because sadly, I didn't have that relationship with my parents. And one of the things, you're going to love hearing this, but one of the things that was very difficult for my family is my parents didn't really understand the concept of dating because they had arranged marriage. And so I think the idea of dating is difficult for any parents regardless, but especially more so for mine because they never experienced it. And so when I started dating, it was not easy by any means. And so finally, it was me. I'm 24 years old, and I've been dating a gentleman, a guy, sorry, for about a year now, and I wasn't able to tell them until 6 months ago. And it was really difficult to open that conversation because I just didn't know how they would react. And thankfully, I approached them in an honest manner and said, I've been seeing this person, I would really like for you to get to know him. And by no means was it a walk in the park. I mean, it's still not easy to this day. But if they were never going to start that conversation, and I wish they would have. So I would say really just establish a line of communication with your children from a young age. Yeah. So in my mind, I was like, I'm going to win Miss America and then start med school right away. But that actually cannot happen, because I don't finish my year of service until next September. Med school start obviously August, early September. So I have a year or window of opportunity to kind of see what opportunities come out of this year. Lots of doors open when you become Miss America, thankfully. And but I will plan on going back to graduate school and using a scholarship. Yes. Any advice for people who are in pageants? Well, first of all, I don't like using the word pageant. It's a competition. I think pageants have such a terrible stigma around them, and they certainly do, and there's obviously a stereotype associated with it. But I would say be yourself. And it's so much, this is advice in general, it's so much easier said than done, and it's so easy to lose yourself in today's society, especially in today's society. So know who you are, love who you are, and stand up for who you are. Yeah. my goodness, what was harder, the 10 days leading up to the competition or 10 days after the competition? It's interesting because so when you compete for Miss America, it's in Atlantic City, and all the contestants are there for 10 days. And it's an intense, we have 10 days, no cell phones, tight security, like we have no connection to the outside world. So it's a very intense 10 days, but you get so close to these girls, these contestants, and I truly believe that I walked away, I mean, there were 52 other Miss Americas on that stage with me, because any single one of us could have done the job. It's just a matter of how the cards fall that night. So I would say the 10 days were actually not as difficult as I thought they would be, but the 10 days after, oh my goodness. So the second you win Miss America, you're literally whisked off to a press conference. You have 20 minutes with your family and friends, and then you're asked to repack all of your belongings into 2 suitcases, and you hit the road. You hit the ground running. So I had an intense media tour for that week in New York City. I mean, 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. at night, back to back, and then I've literally been going ever since. So it's been a lot, but fun. The closest friends I made on stage, I walked away with a group of 3 close girls. We actually have a text group. We talk almost every day. Miss Virginia, Miss Illinois, and Miss Arkansas. I've been to India plenty of times. My mom's side of the family still lives there, so we go back often. Have fun. You grow up really quickly, so just take the time to enjoy and have fun. My favorite hobby in Miss America, as Miss America, what's my favorite hobby? Well, I played tennis a lot growing up. I actually played in college as well. I know, that's so Indian, isn't it? So tennis is really fun. I love playing that. Yeah. Good and bad. I think initially a lot of criticism in the sense that there was a discussion going on about the color of my skin. And there's certainly racism in India because, so a little bit of background, in India, the more fair you are, you're considered more beautiful. And that's just how it is there. That's their standard of beauty. And so I think the discussion that was happening was that, oh, she would have never won Miss India because she's too dark. And for me, that was another opportunity to say, you know what? Actually, this is, again, related to my platform. And then to finally be that symbol and a role model to young girls in India who are so pressured who think that they can only be beautiful if they are a certain skin color is absolutely ridiculous. And so I can stand here and say, you know what, you don't have to be a certain skin color to be beautiful. And it's that idea of wanting what we don't have. And that exists here too. We spend thousands of dollars on tanning products. And so to really spread that message about diversity and beauty is really all this can be. Oh yeah, right there.
Do you think that consumption and consumers here in the West makes it more of a bullying society than perhaps in South Asia?
I can't really speak for South Asia because I've never really grown up there. However, I can say that, middle school is the worst time ever for anyone. Yes, I know, yes, it's awful. It was just terrible. And I think it's because we feed into this I'm forgetting the word that I'm looking for. What? Yeah, we all think they're an awkward stage, but it's definitely, we feel a sense of pressure put on by society to wear certain clothing, to look a certain way, to be a certain way. There's all these images from media, celebrities, that we see, and these are just unideal standards of beauty. And so, for me, I remember, whenever I'm talking about this, I always say that, I always ask the question, how do you want to be remembered? Because I remember in middle school, in 6th grade, there was a young person who shall remain nameless, who said, Nina Davuluri has a bigger mustache than my dad. And I know, and it was actually kind of true, but it didn't mean that it hurt anyone. And so, regardless of who this person becomes, he can become the next senator, the next president. I will always hands for making that comment. So your words, not only your words, but your social media, I'm sorry kids, but if you think your profile is private, it is not. Colleges, companies, corporations have access to everything. So be careful what you put out there because it is out there forever. And your words have so much power. And anytime you speak your actions, you are influencing someone. And understand how important that is. I'm so sorry. I would definitely try to talk to someone. I would say stop, block, and tell. So if you're ever in that situation, I would ask the person to stop, remove yourself, and tell a teacher, a friend, your parent, someone that you can trust to help you. I'm so sorry, sweetheart.
Yeah, and I just want to say that I'm here to answer questions about bullying too, because Miss America, helping around with the questions really in situations of bullying, so I'm here for that.
Yeah. One of my favorite role models, well, first and foremost, my sister, but she kind of paved the way. She's older. But other than that, Minnie Kaling, she's on the Minnie Project. She was on The Office as well. And I think she's really broken so many boundaries, not only for South Asians, but for women, as well as kind of like the going back to beauty standards. I think she's completely broken the mold in that sense, too. So I respect her a lot.
Yeah, I know. I think my role model comes from, a lot of people that want to support my life. I kind of take something from each person, not entirely a single person, but definitely aspects of my dad, aspects of my mom. I take what I like about them and sort of admire those qualities, and those have really helped me, develop into the person I am today.
Yeah.
We go back to social media for a minute, because it seems so powerful. Nothing I said. First bell, the last bell, that's kind of the traditional sense of bullying, especially parents. That's what we kind of think of bullying as. So from 3:30 p.m. to 6:30 a.m., how do you tell, what do you tell the students in the symposium or just one-on-one? How do you equip them with dealing with that other than ignore it and turn off your cell phone when you know that it's good? And then what's the practical advice you give?
Yeah, of course, and I don't mean to scare the parents, but social media has become a weapon. It's become something that has caused so much harm to kids, and I think having an open dialogue with, what websites they're using, or, who they're talking to, or what's going on, because there's a website called Ask FM, which is actually where you can submit anonymous comments to someone, and it's actually been linked to many teenagers' suicide because people have said horrible, hurtful things. And my advice would, social media is a huge part of the teenage life. We can't just turn it off all the time. But I think if something happens with a particular individual, it is an issue that can be dealt with the school, bringing it up to a counselor and having it be dealt with, because it should be taken seriously, even if it's happening anonymously or things like that, because it's still hurtful, especially when you can read those messages over and over. So, I would like to have an open dialogue with your parents about if you receive a message or if something happens, have a comfortable environment that can say that this person's unfit, and they just want it to stop. They just don't want that to happen, because it shouldn't be an unhealthy source that you have to see all the time. Oh yeah, there's this, if you see something, maybe a fight going on Facebook. What I love this one high school, it was Sheldon High School in Sacramento. They just say a fight is going on Facebook through the comments. They just hashtag, that's not Sheldon. Instead of starting a fight, they just hashtag, if someone's saying something really mean, they'll just put, that's not Sheldon, because that's the name of their high school. And it's kind of a way to, not start a fight, but just let someone know that they're being hurtful in what they're saying. When they see that, they know what that means. They know what their Sheldon High School, their motto is, and it sort of doesn't create more, it doesn't fuel the fire, but it lets them know what they're doing is not appropriate.
Well, I do quite a bit as Miss America. Not only my personal platform, obviously, is a huge priority, but I also work with STEM education, specifically women in science, technology, engineering, and math. My degree was in brain behavior and cognitive science, so really encouraging young women to be in the math and science field is really important. I also work with Children's Miracle Network hospitals, so traveling across the country and visiting various children's hospitals across the country keeps me quite busy.
She's very busy, I think.
I don't think one aspect is the most hurtful. It's all hurtful. It's equally hurtful. It just depends on the person, and it's absolutely unacceptable either way.
It depends on their sensitivity level, and maybe more sensitive to whether it's said to their face. Some people can brush that off, but if they read it, they may take the words a different way because it's hard to tell by the tone of voice, so because you can't figure that out. But yeah, it depends.
My favorite TV show, oh my goodness, I watch way too much TV. I love Netflix and Hulu. I love The Mini Project, Breaking Bad. Don't tell me I haven't caught up. Walking Dead and Scandal are my top 4 right now. Well, it just goes back to, yes, I did get a lot of ignorant comments, and people were like, have you seen your Twitter? I'm like, yes, I read my Twitter feed, who doesn't? And yeah, it was hurtful, obviously. I think the most difficult part about it is to not hit respond and say what I really genuinely wanted to say, because that's adding fuel to the fire. And it's just not worth it. But yeah, it's absolutely challenging every day because I still receive remarks. I still receive messages on Twitter, on Facebook, whatever it may be. When I was at a school presentation and I had a young girl say, oh, well, she's English, she doesn't know what is America. And I can hear, I'm living here in distance, so it happens every day, and it follows me every day. But once again, to share my message and to rise above it is the best thing I can do. There's nothing else I can do at this point. And I have a megaphone to speak about it.
That's all the time we have right now, but if you guys are welcome to take pictures with Miss America, let's give her a huge round of applause.